All right,
Yeah.
everyone, welcome to my channel. We have a good mate of mine here, Sean Lord, who I've known for, maybe about 10 years, you reckon? If
It's
not,
been a while now, mate. Those
yeah, it's
few
been a
less years.
while. Yeah, we've got a few less brain cells as well. But thank you for joining us. But before we move on, everyone out there, please don't forget to subscribe. That little subscribe button down the bottom, it takes 1 second. This man has run 42 kilometres in over 4 hours. He took that much time out of his day to do that. One click, 1 second. Thank you. Right, let's move on. The reason we've got Lordy on here today, basically he's just run his first marathon and it's a mammoth feat. And I'm 6 foot and 80 kilograms and I'm considered quite big on a trail running course. Mate, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Haven't shrunk yet, but 6'3", and last check was 100 kilos.
You walk around like you're 6'5". So yeah, who are you? What do you do? Tell us about what you've just done.
Awesome. Hey, first, thanks for having us, dude. So am an international pilot with a carrier out of Australia. I live up in Cairns, Queensland. Ran the marathon in June in Brizzy, did the Brizzy Marathon. Yeah, still alive to talk about it, and maybe we'll do another one. I don't know. We'll see how we go.
So tell me about that. Like, why did you decide to do a marathon? What was kind of your motivation for doing that? Because it's one of those things now where I think more and more people are looking to do it.
It's something that I always wanted to do. I'd always been pretty interested in it. But it's funny, hey, like people just say that's a long way. I think someone said, the hardest, they sort of said, oh, how old are you now? And I said, oh, at the time I've been 36 or 37. And they said, well, what's harder than doing a marathon at 37 is doing one at 38 and 39 and 40. Yeah, man. And then I sort of turned 40. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do 40 at 40. I'm going to do 40 kilometers at age 40. And it just so happened that I did 42 at age 41. I don't know, probably like you, just love a challenge. Having something, a goal or something to work towards just makes life so much, gives me the motivation and just makes life so much easier because I've got a plan. Right, let's do this. And then it's just figuring out how am I going to achieve it.
You hit the nail on the head there. Kind of, we need a challenge. I feel it gives me purpose. I don't know. I think that's kind of what you're saying there. I think our personalities are quite similar in the way that we're a bit of the life of the party. Yeah, so we like to entertain, and I feel that transfers into life as well. And so I can see why you would do something like this. That's why when you told me you were doing a marathon, I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Well, it's like funny. Hey, like you do you do at the half. You're like, oh man, I'm never doing that again. And then you do the marathon. You're like, holy shit, how do these guys do? Like, I think you had just done your ultra. I'm like, oh my god, not even halfway to to 100 kilometers, of running. And I don't know how you're gonna. I could possibly eat pizza at the end of this one.
Mate, I couldn't eat a thing on the day. Tell me about because I knew you were training for a while. We were talking, like, how long were you training for? What sort of things did you do? Because it's more than just getting out there and just running, isn't it? There's a lot to learn, yeah?
Yeah, look, I think that I'm one of those guys that once I've got a plan and I can stick to it and I can show the whole family, hey, look, this is where I'm going to be this day, this day, this day, or whatever. It actually makes life so much easier. Once I'd signed up for the marathon, it's like, yeah, okay, how are we going to do this? Why am I doing this? Like, I've been reading a lot of books because there's a little shitload of material out there to read. And look, I haven't really come across a book that is about running that is really that interesting.
I'd agree, yeah.
The book 80/20 Running. So I read a little bit about that, and that had a plan in it, like for a 16-week training plan.
My understanding of 80/20 is 80% of your training at a lower intensity and 20% at your moderate to high intensity. So that's really important because a lot of people, when they train for these type of events, they make the mistake by training too hard too often. So 80% of your training should be at a low intensity. which helps with your endurance.
You pretty much nailed it, right? Like it's just running as slow as anything on a heart rate, right? I never became so attached to my heart rate monitor.
I didn't realise you had a coach as well, didn't you? So, hey, how you
Hey,
doing?
Nathan, how are you, buddy? This is pretty convenient. You still doing that training? He's like, yeah. What are you training for? And I said, oh, a marathon. He's like, all right, yeah, I can help. The first thing he said to me is, all right, well, what's your goal? And I said, that's a great question, but I actually do have the answer for you. I've got three. The first one is I want to make it to the marathon. I want to get there, like, to the start line, and I want to feel relatively prepared. And the second one is to finish it. If we can tick off those two goals, I'll be pretty happy. The third one is to do it in under 4 hours. As you learn doing when you start talking to people who've done marathons, they throw around times that are considered good, but what you realise is that everyone's different.
But I think people put too much pressure on themselves when they start to think about time. It's probably one of the biggest things that, you spoke about it before about running with heart rate. Like trail running for me is I monitor my heart rate. I throw time out the window. I don't even care what time I'll finish.
My question to Google, well, what time does an average person complete the marathon in? And the answer on this meme was average people don't do marathons.
Yes, absolutely.
As I've realised now, I think I should stuck to goal 1 and 2, getting to the marathon uninjured, finishing the marathon, because at that time, look, particularly your first one, doesn't matter what time it is.
Did you find it challenging to really stick to your plan?
Look, I was pretty good.
I mean, really good.
My coach would set the plan at his house, but that week I could log in and say, hey, I'm going to New York these days. I'm unavailable for flying. Build my roster around that. Or if I knew that I had a party or something coming up, we could factor that in. And even early in the piece, my wife, was like, so you've had all week at home and then you're going for a long run on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so, Tim.
There's a reason I ask that and this is kind of a question for you, for the viewer. When I speak to people and they ask me for advice and things like that, is the moment where people give up. You're going to have those moments if you haven't stuck to your plan. You're going to doubt yourself. Just keep going, because, like you kind of said before, average people don't do this. You're doing more than the average person. So that was a really important question I wanted to ask you. And you've done pretty well sticking to most of it. And I guess having a coach, they were able to help keep you accountable as well a little bit.
Did I give you permission to sneeze, Opie?
No, sir.
That was one of the reasons I got a coach. I'm like, look, this is going to cost a little bit of money, but if it keeps me accountable, then let's do it. But, I didn't make every training session, and sometimes every training session, wasn't my best effort. The big thing that came from that is, you can't beat yourself up. If you miss a training session, so what? Like, get on with it. There's the next one. You got to live life too, man. Like, it's
balance. So then take me to race day. How were you feeling? How did it start off? How did the race go? What do you remember from the day? Talk me through your race.
About a week out, you pretty much don't do any. You start what they call tapering, So you've done all the work. That was good. It was really quite relaxing week, really, leading into it. And then about 3 days out, you start eating a lot.
This is really good info for someone watching tapering, and you're about to talk about carb loading, aren't you?
Yeah, it's now you just get to eat. Well, I won't say whatever you want, but you're just eating and eating and eating. So you're trying to prepare your body for really that last 10 kilometers, which the Hurt Locker, they talk about glycogen cells being depleted and whatnot, and your body going into this crazy, pain mode.
Those glycogen stores, I learnt about them as well. It's basically like having a reserve fuel tank in a way, isn't it? Like when your body is depleted of everything, those carbohydrates are replacing those glycogen stores for it's like having an extra fuel tank.
Wow!
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good way of doing it. I needed, in hindsight, needed a lot more fuel. But part of the marathon stuff is you're allowed to have your own drinks. So I'd been training. I found out what drink they were going to be using along the race, which was an orange flavoured Infinite Speed. So I started training with that, and then had streamers coming off it, so I could identify my bottle when I got to the.
I never have ever thought about finding out what sort of energy drink the race has. And I train with my own sort of things, and I'm like, actually, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that from you.
Oh man, I think that just comes from the unknown, right? Like, and just maybe the pilot in me just wanting to. Was it 6 P's, right? Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
So, as a pilot, serious question here. As a pilot, how come you can fly a plane but you can't make yourself a coffee?
Well, I mean, you guys just do it better.
Coffee pod in, close, push button. Hey, that was easy.
Yeah. Right, so take me now to start line through your race. What are some things that worked well for you? What are some things that didn't work well? Anything that you remember from the race?
So I got up at 3 a.m. I ate, I had a drink, and bang! Wouldn't believe it. 3 hours later, or just I'm sitting on the toilet and everything's working, and
Yeah.
I'm like, nice.
Yeah, there's nothing worse. Nothing worse.
So I was ready to go, man. And so I went downstairs to the start line, and I was there probably like 15 minutes early. I'm like, man, there is no one. I'm looking up and down, and like the chute, I can see, like, I'm at the right place. There's the chute. It says start. But there's 100 meters of no one there. So I'm like, oh, I thought more people would be doing this marathon, but cool. Well, I'm sort of just running up and down, and I'm picking out where I'm going to jump in the line. I'm like, well, I can jump. I can start wherever I want. This is great. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Oh, there's a lot of people around the corner. I was about to jump into the elite start. Yes, I was kind of having a bit of a giggle about that.
So the gun goes off. Talk me through the race. Like, what do you remember from it?
It was pretty epic. Like, so I had a plan, and it was to sort of go out and see how I felt, which doesn't sound like much of a plan, but I knew that I could run pretty comfortably 5-minute 45, 5-minute 30 kilometers, but not to get caught up in that rush, that initial surge, because people go out and, it's like I say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I was feeling awesome, like feeling really good. I think I split the first half marathon in just over 2 hours.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Everything was about to change.
Yeah.
Then I started to slow down a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, that's cool. We'll just kick it back. And I was down around 6-minute kilometers, I suppose.
That is still absolutely decent. Like, I run ultras at 6:30, so yeah, to start at 5:30 for your first marathon is insane. Is insanely good. Yeah,
everything was just starting to tighten up, but I caught up to a pacer, or he caught up to me rather, 4 hours 15. I'm like, all right, well, because there's a few mental games starting to go on here. I'm like, I'd be pretty happy for 4 hours 15. We're just running together, and it's really nice. And then he just starts disappearing off the track to the left. I'm like, what? Where's he going? And then he sees run off to the toilet. Now what am I going to do? And it was funny. Another guy's like, what the? I'm like, wait for him. Anyways, it's funny how you're like, oh, well, okay, there goes that plan.
Do you remember how far you were in the race at that point?
Yeah, probably about 26 Ks, I reckon. Yeah.
I know we've had a laugh over that, but that can be mentally if you're not mentally strong, that can mess with you. And I've seen people break, for things like that, he had one job. For for the people watching as well, how often do you take gels during your races?
Yeah, so I had a pretty strong gel game, but I did a bit of research. I knew that I needed about 100 grams of carbs per hour. If I had two of them every hour plus 600 mils of the sports drink, perfect. That was 100 grams.
Was there a point in the race, people talk about the wall, hitting the wall?
Oh, well, that wall's coming.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so I was with the 4 hour 15 guy, and we are feeling good. I was feeling, this is awesome, and I knew that my family were gonna meet me along the race somewhere at some point. I was gonna see them, so that was keeping me pretty motivated. So yeah, Ruth had caught the city cat up and was with the girls, and next minute I'm coming up this hill and I hear "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and look out, and my 7-year-old and 4-year-old are there waving, and they ran along me for a while, and that was awesome. So seeing them on the track was good. I'm like, right, I've got to just keep running now. Like I've got to show them how it is. And so I ran another kilometre out, and then we turned around and ran back, and I saw them again. And they're running with me, and that was a highlight. And it was also probably, if I put a marker on my chart, after that it was all downhill. Yeah, from 33 kilometres it started to hurt. My mind was always like, I'm finishing this no matter what happens, but my body was just like, oh, okay, this is starting to hurt. And so I had, had another gel, had some more fluids, then everything slowed down. We got to 7-minute kilometres an hour, and I remember looking down at my legs thinking, okay, there's a knee joint there, and my legs should be bending, because I was just running like I was on stilts. This hurts so much. Started cranking some tunes, and like, all right, let's forget about the pain and just keep going. And like I remember thinking, I'm 20 minutes away from finishing a marathon. All right, so let's break it down.
It sounds mentally like you never had a problem, which is good.
My body was telling me otherwise, but my mind was always like, we've got this. It's cool. It's going to hurt, and it's going to be slow. But you know what? I'm doing pretty well here. So
you're close to the finish line?
Close to the finish line, man. And then we sort of run up past the finish line and then back again. And then I was like, it was pretty emotional. Like, you're like, all this 6 months of work is just like, we're nearly done, right? Like, and I remember crossing the finishing line, and there was so much emotion coming out, and got the hands up, got the photo, and then there was my family waiting for me, and that was awesome. Yeah, it made it all worthwhile, to show your kids that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to as well. Like that's a big motivator, right?
Is there anything that you learned? Did you feel like it built your resilience a little bit more, or?
100%. Like, I think that we're learning every day, right? Like, that's just human beings. That's who we are. And I've done some pretty tough events before, like multi-day rides. I did Kokoda last year, and that was pretty challenging. The marathon is probably one of the things that I would say was the most physically challenging. And to overcome that, I found that I had to be pretty mentally ready, I suppose, mentally fit. You got to be disciplined. You got to stick with it again. But having a plan makes a lot of that easier. Having a coach makes a lot of that easier. But I think for me, it was like, what I learned is that I can do a marathon, that I did a marathon. At the end of the day, right, it's like this. It's so easy to do nothing. If you set yourself a challenge and a goal and you plan it out, well, then absolutely anything in this world is achievable, If you can motivate, like I was highly motivated. And I hope that I motivate someone else, to go and do it, because the last bit for me, and I'd been thinking about, was for a while was, right, this is locked in. I've got the days off to do this. Now there's an opportunity to fundraise as well. I was able to get behind a really good community, which is the Black Dog community as well. I might not have won the marathon, but I was the #1 fundraiser for Black Dog, so happy days. Obviously, the Black Dog is all about suicide prevention and mental health. There's always someone at the end of the line to talk to because you're not alone, right?
Yeah, it's important to keep that conversation going. So well done. So before I get on to the last couple of questions, this is mainly for the viewer out there as well. So trail ultra marathon, they'll have aid stations every 10, 12 Ks. They've got seats, you can sit down, you can eat. Whereas a road marathon, we were talking about time before. People are more conscious of time, and it's almost like 42 kilometers non-stop. Now, I can tell you in all of my ultras, I'm not running 42 Ks non-stop. So that's why I was talking about it. It takes a lot of resilience to be able to do that. People who run both trail and road know that. And that's why, like, what you did, yeah, because I'm guessing the aid stations in your race are just little tables with water and stuff, right? There's no seats.
Mate, if there was a seat, I would have got back up.
There's going to be people out there watching this that are probably thinking about doing their first marathon. What sort of advice would you give them?
Firstly, when you do long runs, wear a lot of lube.
Yes, that was my first lesson as well. Yeah.
I remember I did one run, and it was a long run, and it was raining, and it was in the morning, and I got in the shower, and I put it on Body Glide or whatever, and I thought I got it everywhere, but I can tell you there was some bits that I missed. I was doubled over in the shower crying. By the time I got to the race, my girls were like, "Hey, Dad, make sure you put on your ball cream."
So lube, what else?
Yeah, man, like for me, the biggest thing was just have a plan. The coach for me saved me. There is so much information on the internet, probably like a little bit too much, but I think that if you got, the 80-20 running book is really good. There's got a plan in that. Take a photocopy, put it on the wall, date everything, and just have that plan every day, just one run at a time. And, before you know it, 16 weeks is up, and if you miss one, who cares? It doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Subscribe to my channel, and there's a video on there how to run longer without getting tired, right? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hit the subscribe button down there, guys. It's just down there. Takes 1 second.
Good point, Az. I get a lot of motivation from your channel as well.
So I've saved the most important question for last as well. I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time because you've probably never forgotten about it. Do you still cry yourself to sleep about my game winner in Tasmania on you guys, or seeing me hezzy left dribble pull up, just take the bronze medal off you guys? How do you sleep at night?
Well, I sleep at night knowing that that day you were 1 from 20. So, sometimes
the one that counts. Lordy, thanks for sharing everything. I hope that the people watching out there today have kind of taken something away from your experiences. I think you've shared a lot about how you prepared, which is probably the most important. Some funny stories in there and some tips as well. There's a lot more interest in completing a marathon, and I really hope that this helps some people out there. And thank you so much, mate, for sharing your first marathon.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the motivation, and good luck to anybody out there. Might see you on another one soon.